Jack the Ripper, I mean, just saying the name, it sends shivers down your spine, doesn't it?
It really does.
Whitechapel, London, 1888. Such a dark chapter.
Absolutely.
And for this deep dive, you brought some really fascinating material about this case. And I think what we really want to try to do is find out what makes it so important. You know, why does this one case still have such a hold on us?
Well, I think it's amazing how one unidentified serial killer, operating just for a few months, August to November of 1888, can still fascinate us today.
Yeah.
And we're talking about at least five women brutally murdered in Whitechapel.
Yeah.
Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The so-called canonical five.
And it's not just the murders themselves, it's the details, right?
Exactly.
It's the really gruesome stuff. I mean, you know, the slashed throats, but then also the very precise removal of internal organs. I mean, that makes you think, okay, was this a doctor? Was this a butcher?
Right. Someone with anatomical knowledge.
Yeah, and you can just imagine, I mean, London at that time, the fear that must have gripped the city.
Oh, the terror was palpable.
Yeah.
And the press had a field day, you know, sensationalizing every detail.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, of course, you have the name itself, Jack the Ripper, becoming synonymous with this unspeakable horror. And that really all comes from a series of letters that were attributed to the killer.
Those letters are chilling. I mean, the Dear Boss letter, that one really put the name Jack the Ripper on the map, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you have the truly terrifying From Hell letter, which, I mean, talk about disturbing. A piece of a human kidney was even sent with that. I mean, it's really, really the stuff of nightmares.
Absolutely. But one really important thing for listeners to consider is, well, how authentic were these letters? I mean, there's no doubt they played a huge role in creating the whole Ripper legend, but many experts believe a good chunk of them, maybe even all of them, were fakes. Think about it. With all the hype, all the sensationalism, journalists could have easily jumped on the bandwagon. Or, you know, it could have just been some pretty twisted pranksters.
So you have this backdrop of fear and this incredible media frenzy, and then you have Scotland Yard, you have the London Metropolitan Police trying to find this phantom, and the frustrating thing is they never caught him.
They never did.
And I think that's a big part of why this mystery is still so intriguing, right? We just don't have those answers.
Exactly. And over the years, the list of suspects has just grown and grown. I mean, you have your local criminals, sure, but then the theories go all the way up to, you know, people in much higher social circles. There's even been speculation about royalty. And then you have this really interesting contrast in the theories themselves. Some people believe it was, you know, someone mentally disturbed, acting on impulse, and others think it had to be someone with very specific skills, a surgeon maybe, or a butcher.
It is so fascinating, isn't it? And even with, you know, all the forensic science we have today, the DNA testing that's been done on the evidence, it's inconclusive. So it seems like Jack the Ripper's true identity is going to remain a mystery.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
But there's another layer to all this. You know, I mean, Jack the Ripper, he's become this cultural icon. He's inspired countless books and movies. People are still debating this case over a century later.
Right.
But if we want to connect this back to something bigger, these crimes also really highlighted the huge social problems in Victorian London.
Yeah.
We're talking about extreme poverty, widespread crime, and, you know, honestly, the awful treatment of women, especially women living in those conditions.
I hadn't really thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
The fear surrounding Jack the Ripper. It wasn't just about the brutality. It also exposed how vulnerable women were, especially in Whitechapel. Their poverty made them targets, and initially, there wasn't much interest in investigating their disappearances, which just shows how society viewed them.
The media frenzy, though, that did force people to pay attention.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here, think about this. One unsolved case, and it still has such a huge impact on us. It makes us think about fear, about society, about the things we don't know.
And here's a final thought for everyone listening. We've been investigating, speculating, debating for over a century. So what is it about these unsolved mysteries from the past that still has such a powerful hold on us? And what does that tell us about how we understand crime, how we understand society even today?
That's something to really think about.
It really is.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for having me.